Greetings, beautiful people. Today's video is coming from the car, and I want to talk about how I started sewing, because this is a question I've gotten in my comments so many times, and my story is actually very unique. Based on the quality of work that I produce, people are always curious as to whether or not I went to school or if I'm self-taught, but it's so interesting because I am fully self-taught. Self-taught really means that you never went to school for what you do and you learned mostly on your own. I learned mostly on my own. The intervention and the help that I received was from other experienced sewists, people who have been doing this for years, and the things that they have taught me inspired me to learn even more on my own. And even after they taught me those things, I still had to go off on my own to still learn more about it and to practice it and to get it better. So being self-taught is something that I feel like can be really valuable, because you get to control what you learn. You get to control the pace that you learn at, and you get to control the variety of things that you learn. You go to a school and you learn probably just theory or maybe just practical things, or maybe they'll teach you a style that you don't necessarily want to learn and you just have to work with it because that's their curriculum. But when you learn on your own, like I said, you get to learn exactly what you want to learn. And that's the reason why I started creating YouTube videos, because the next step to learning is mastery. And then after mastery, you start to teach other people. And through teaching other people, that can help you to become even better at your craft. I started out watching YouTube videos. I kid you not. The first sewing experience I had, well, actually, my mom did have a dressmaker or seamstress who made her clothes, so I was always around her, but I didn't know diddly squat about what sewing really was other than making clothes. And I would just play with her scraps of fabric and stitch clothes for my dolls with needle and thread. And that I did not know would become the basis as to where I start sewing from. That's where I was inspired to sew. And then eventually I got my first sewing machine. That's after watching countless YouTube videos and reading countless sewing articles and just feeling inspired by other people who were making clothes and thinking I could make clothes too, because I don't have a lot of money. I'm not a rich person or anything. At that time I was so young. I don't even think I was 20 yet, and I was going to college or just came out of high school, and I wanted a way that I could pretty much create my style but on a budget. So that was my way. So I got my first sewing machine and I pulled out the manual. At that time they were still sending CDs with sewing machines, and I pretty much just started to sew a handkerchief. I just stitched lines on a handkerchief, stitched some jeans, and it was not good at all. But the main thing is that I got started and I allowed myself to get a feel of what sewing is like. And then from there, I watched sewing tutorials and I bought fabric to make specific clothing items. And then I tried my hand at those things. They weren't very great. I made a swimsuit. The first time I ever made a swimsuit, I made it without elastic. So of course that meant I could hardly go into it. And even when I did get into it, it would not stay on me because it was so stretched out. The threads were popping and I didn't know I needed to stretch the fabric and all of those things. So eventually I met some fashion designers who went to Garmix Heart Academy here in Jamaica. They taught me a lot of things, and eventually I met tailors and seamstresses, very elderly people who have been doing this for years and decades, and they taught me a lot of things that they knew, and that helped me so much. Trial and error is another thing that really helped. I did a lot of things and I got a lot of things wrong, and eventually I got them right after trying it over and over and over again. And I feel like time and patience is the perfect remedy for learning how to do anything on your own. I create YouTube videos so that you will be able to watch and learn how to sew on your own, and I promise you that the more sewing tutorials you watch and the more you practice, the better you will get at sewing. So I hope that this can be of inspiration to someone. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the So Quaint channel, and go check out my sewing tutorials.